Are you confused about how the Asia Cup and AFCON work? Is Salah and Son flagged and you don't know what to do? Then I'm going to answer all of that in this video. Let's get into it.
Yo, listen up, Rue is stepping up the game. Where fantasy Premier League runs in his veins. From transfers to captains, he's always on top. Guiding you through every game week non-stop. They say Rue got that Salah flow. Welcome to the channel, enjoy the show. Wild cards, free hits with so much vibe. If you're hunting for success, then make sure you subscribe.
G'day, mate. Welcome back to the channel. I'm FPL Root and welcome back to another FPL video. Happy New Year, everyone. This is the first video of 2024. Hopefully it is a good year. If you do like this video, make sure you smash a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and make sure you put the notification bell on. So first up, it is AFCON and Asia Cup. So a lot of you might have noticed that a few of your well, I won't say Asian because Australia are in the Asia Cup. So I guess your Asian Federation players and your African players have been flagged and they're now gone off on international duty to play for their respective tournaments. So we'll first off talk about AFCON, so the Africa Cup of Nations. So some of the notable ones we'll go through, but first of all, we'll talk about the tournament a little bit. The group stages run from the 13th of Jan to the 24th of Jan. Round of 16 is 27th of Jan to the 30th of Jan. Quarterfinals is 2nd of February to 3rd of February. Semi-finals is 7th of February. And third place playoffs is 10th of February. And final is 11th of February. So something to note there that basically if they get to the semi-finals, your players, they're likely going to be gone until the 10th of February at least, as the losers of the semi-finals do play in that third place playoff. Another thing to take into consideration is we'll go on about it later on, but basically game week 21 actually starts on the 13th of January. So all your players will be missing for that game week, for game week 21. On the 31st of January is game week 22. So that goes until kind of the round of 16. So if they do make it through the group stage, your player will miss that. Game week 23 is the quarterfinal, so it goes to the 3rd of Feb. It starts on the 3rd of Feb, so really they need to get to the quarterfinals, then they'll miss that game week. And then game week 24 is the 10th of Feb, so if they do go to the final, then they will miss that game week. For me, we'll go on to the Asia Cup, and then we'll talk about how that is going to affect certain players and what players have actually gone to AFCON. So very actually similar to AFCON. Asia Cup is kind of a day behind, I'd say, AFCON, but there is one notable difference, I'd say. So Asia Cup is 12th of Jan to the 25th of Jan, whereas AFCON is 13th to 24th. So it starts a day earlier, ends a day later, which is interesting. Round of 16 goes from the 28th of Jan, so a little bit of a day after, I guess, than AFCON. And then it goes to the 31st of Jan. So again, a longer period between rounds, which is interesting. Quarterfinals are 2nd of February to the 3rd of February. Semi-finals are the 6th of February to the 7th of February, whereas AFCON is only on the 7th. And third place playoffs don't exist in Asia Cup. And the finals on the 10th rather than the 11th. So that is definitely a little bit of a difference, but I think in terms of when players are going to be out for, I think it kind of works out the same. If they make the group stage, they'll be well, everyone's in the group stage, they're going to miss game week 21. If they make the round of 16, they're going to miss game week 22. If they make the quarterfinals, they're going to miss game week 23. If they make the semi-finals, though, it's an interesting one. If they make the semi-finals, which it starts on game week 24 on the 10th of Feb, potentially in the Asia Cup, they could be knocked out the semi-finals on the 6th of February, the first semi-final, and be back to play in game week 24 on the 10th of Feb. So that is one of them to take into consideration. But for now, we will go on to some of the players that are missing. I have highlighted some of the I guess, the more key FPL options, and then picked out a few that are we kind of want to be paying attention to, as they are some key players that we might want to bring in. So this is the list of, I guess, some of the bigger players that are off to AFCON. So I'm going to go through all of them. They're they're kind of in order of teams instead of alphabetical order. So it starts with Arsenal, ends in Wolves. I haven't put every single player on there, and obviously some players might make a difference to a team, but I've kind of gone for players that are not just FP options, but they also affect the way a team plays, etc. So Thomas Partey and Tomiyasu from Arsenal are both going. There is also Oneni, but again, I won't mention Oneni. He's not really affecting the team. So Partey and Tomiyasu, I think, will affect Arsenal. Obviously, Thomas Partey has been injured for most of the season, but it does mean that Declan Rice is probably going to play that number 6 role, and it means maybe Odegaard or Havertz is likely to play that old Xhaka role, that number 8 role. So maybe it probably makes Odegaard or Havertz, if you are looking to bring them in, a little bit of a worse option, as they might have to play a little bit deeper. Now Thomas Partey is kind of not there to either be the number 6 or complement Declan Rice. Tomiyasu is actually a big one and something to take into consideration. He'd obviously be an option as a left back or even a right back. So potentially it does make Ben White and Zinchenko a better option and more nailed. I think Ben White is nailed anyway, but potentially it does make Zinchenko a better option. However, with Timber coming back to injury, I don't think that is that good of an option because Timber can play left back as well. So, but it does, I guess, increase Zinchenko and Ben White's chances of playing more often than not. So next up, we've got Brentford. So Vissa has gone off to play for Congo. So the Brentford forward. So a player that maybe some of us owned, and maybe with Brentford have a double game week coming up. It hasn't been announced yet, but they are going to have one at some point, as I did miss game week 18 against Manchester City. So Vissa is now out of the picture. I'm not too sure how far Congo will go. To be honest, they're not one of the favourites to go that far. So he could be back very, very soon. Ivan Toney is likely to be back soon. So Vissa maybe becomes a little bit less of a good option. So in that one, it doesn't really make a huge difference to our FPL teams. Brighton are missing Adingra, who's gone to the Ivory Coast, but is an injured out, so potentially he could not actually go to AFCON. And Tariq Lamptey is gone to Ghana, and he's not really, I guess, featuring for Brighton that much anyway. But I thought I'd put him in there, as I know some people did bring him in a few game weeks ago. But Adingra is an interesting one. I think obviously let's just assume he goes. I think it does make some of the Brighton wingers and forwards a little bit of a better option. So maybe Borna Neto, João Pedro, maybe even Ferguson makes them a little bit of a safer option, especially with Matoma as well. So obviously Matoma has gone to the Asia Cup, but is injured out as well, as he is carrying an injury. So that is another one to take into consideration. But even if they both are injured, it does make the Brighton forwards a little bit of a better option. And Brighton do have some good fixtures coming up. Chelsea, so Nicholas Jackson is gone. So does this make Nkunku a better option? Potentially. Potentially Brozier could play there as well. We have to wait and see how they're going to line up without Nicholas Jackson, as he has been kind of starting as a number 9. You could see Nkunku there, but I guess that's a wait and see. And I do fancy Senegal to go pretty far. I do fancy them to win it, to be honest. So I can see Nicholas Jackson missing a couple game weeks, if not all of them that I've mentioned. Jordan Ayew is also missing from Palace, so he's gone to meet up with the Ghana squad. Could Edouard become an option? Not for me. To be honest, it doesn't really affect it too much, Palace, but then just in terms of creativity up front, they are now obviously missing Jordan Ayew, and Elise has been injured again, so that is 2 kind of key players missing from their forward line. So maybe I'd throw a little bit of caution to the wind when bringing in Palace forwards. Liverpool, so Mohamed Salah, obviously one of the biggest names on here, missing from to go and play for Egypt. Egypt are one of the favourites as well, so I do expect them to go far. So it is an interesting one. How will Liverpool deal with no Salah? Does this make Jota a better option? Does this make Darwin Núñez a better option? Who's on penalties? These are just some of the questions that could help us plan in FPL. We'll get to see Liverpool play Arsenal in the FA Cup before game week 21. So that is a massive chance to be able to guess analyze their team and how they're going to set up, because I'm sure they will go strong in that game, albeit a third round FA Cup tie. But we'll talk about Salah a little bit later on in the video. Kabore, so Burkina Faso is gone to, and a lot of people did have him as their 4 million defender. But if you do have him, maybe you do want to bring him out, but I'm not too sure how far they will go. So you'll probably be all right with just benching him for now. Onana is gone. Who knows? That might improve Man United's defense. I did have him, but I have wild carded him out now, so no need to worry about that. And Cameroon, probably one of the favourites as well, so you probably end up going far. Serge Aurier and Willy Bolly both missing from Nottingham Forest. I do have a few more players going out, but this is probably the key. That's two key players in the defence, both Ivory Coast, and Ivory Coast are a strong team, so I do expect them to go far as well. So maybe probably I would stay clear of Forest defenders, maybe even Turner for now, because they are missing two kind of key players in there. Spurs have probably been hit the worst, to be honest, in this Asia Cup and AFCON international tournaments. So Pape Matar Sarr is gone to AFCON with Senegal. nxzmum has gone to AFCON with Mali. I don't expect Mali to make it that far, so potentially he could be back for game week 22, and at latest probably game week 23. So it's not too bad, but I don't think nxzmum is an FPL option anyway. But he does give a bit more solidity to Tottenham, and probably makes the defenders a little bit of a better option. Pape Matar Sarr, exactly the same as Bazuma, probably not an FPL option, but I think in terms of overall team, he isn't in the best Spurs team, best Spurs 11. But I do actually expect Senegal, like I said, to go far. So I wouldn't be holding out on Sarr coming back anytime soon. Son, obviously one of the big names, along with Salah, who are off to the Asia Cup. South Korea, again, one of the favourites for that. They have some really, really good players. They've got Kim Min Jae, they've got Hwang for Wolves. They've also got that PSG is it defender or winger that is meant to be really good. So I do fancy South Korea to go far. So I think we won't be seeing Son back until at least game week probably 24, 25. So for me, Wolves, I will talk about Son and Salah in the next part of the video, so I won't talk too much now. But I would be making plans to get Son out your team. But we'll talk about that and the percentages of likelihood that he's going to miss certain games a little bit later. For West Ham, they've been hit, I guess, pretty bad as well. So Aguard has gone to Morocco, and Kudos is Ghana. Again, Ghana probably one of the better teams in that tournament, and Kudos has been on fire recently. So it is going to be a big miss for West Ham. Does this make Bowen a less of a good option because of the creativity? He doesn't really have anyone else that can ball like Kudos up there with him. So it is something to take into consideration. The first game without Kudos against Brighton, they failed to score. So that is probably affecting them already. Hee Chang Hwang against South Korea, one of the favourites. It's a shame, as he was picking up some form, and he's been on fire this season, but maybe when he comes back, he can become an FPL option again. And also from Wolves, you got Out Nori at Algeria, but I don't expect them to go probably further in the quarterfinals. So if you do own, I'll probably be just benching for now. So these are kind of some of the key players and how they kind of affect the rest of the team, I guess, and other FPL options. Next up, we will be talking about Salah and Son. I know a lot of you are waiting for this, so we'll talk about kind of the percentage they're going to come back and when they're probably likely to come back. So Salah and Son are both probably the biggest players to be missing and to go to the Asia Cup in terms of FPL option. I've already mentioned this, but game week 21 starts on the 13th of Jan. So that means everyone that's in the group stage, which is every player that's gone, is missing game week 21. There's no doubt about that. Game week 22 starts on the 31st of January. So everyone that makes it through the group stage and goes to the round of 16 will miss that game week, and I feel like Son and Salah near enough guaranteed to miss that game week. I've only put them down as a 90% chance of blank in terms of being on international duty, but I think you could say it's 99% sure they will be making it out of the group stage. Quarterfinals, I've put that so that's on the 3rd of Feb. So if they make it to the quarterfinals, I say 60% chance and 75 for Son. Just because I do think South Korea are probably a stronger team in the Asia Cup than Egypt are in AFCON. I think there are better teams in Egypt in AFCON, to be honest. So it is a 60% chance. And then the semi-finals are basically on the 10th of Feb is game week 24. And then if they make it through to the semi-finals, then they will miss that game week. However, there is a chance, as I mentioned, that if Son makes it to the semi-finals and goes out, he could be back for game week 24. But with Salah, as there's a 3rd place playoff, if he makes it, there's no way he'll be back for that. So you could argue that it's better to hold Son than Salah, because Son can go out at the semi-final stage and be back for game week 24 potentially, but Salah, there's absolutely no chance. So you could argue that that is the case. For me, what I'd be doing, what I've done, I've took him out on my wild card, probably too early, but I'll be taking him out. I think they're going to miss at least 3 game weeks. I think minimum, potentially 4. Who knows how they're going to come back? Are they going to get injured? For me, I will be taking them out. Some of the replacements, I will go through more depth in my transfer tips video coming out in the next day or so. But for now, I'm probably looking at someone like Bowen. I'll be looking at someone like Palmer if you don't have, someone like Richarlison if you don't have, and even keeping an eye on someone called James Maddison that is likely to be coming back from injury over the next game week or so. So I will be keeping an eye on him. But for now, I'd say if you wanted to keep one, I'd probably keep Son, even though I do expect him to go further in the tournament. I just think that if he does go out at the semi-final stage, he'll be back for game week 24, potentially. Whereas Salah, if he makes semi-finals, he's gone for the whole tournament. That was it for this video. I hope it gave you a little bit of a clearer understanding on how AFCON is going to work and how many game weeks these players are likely to miss. Make sure you check out my transfer tips video coming out in the next day or so. That will have more information on who you should bring in to replace Salah, Son, Kudos, etc. Smash a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And yeah, good luck for the game week.